bring the meeting to order, the one time a year where the superintendent gets to hold the gavel, and I think about it all year long, and I can't wait. So just a reminder, we have such a big crowd, but for those watching this on video, it's our reorganization meeting, so typically the superintendent presides until we have named our new president and officers, and then it turns over to the new president. So I have to muddle through it once a year, and I usually do an okay job, I think. So the first thing on our agenda is the verification of unofficial election results, which is kind of easy this year, and I'll just read that in accordance with section 115.124 of the Missouri Constitution, the Rockwood School District did not hold an election for the 3-year terms or the 1-year term for school board members this year because the number of candidates who filed was equal to the number of positions to be filled. The following are the candidates in order of filing who will be sworn into office at this school board's reorganization meeting. 3-year terms, Tamara Jo Romberg, Jamie Lynn Bays, and for a 1-year term, Matthew Dole. Rockwood had no other issues to submit to voters for the April 3rd, 2018 general election, and obviously when the official results are in, we'll bring those back and approve them. Correct? Anything to add to that, Kathy? Pretty much covers it. Yes. So let's move on to the administer the oath of office for our new board members, re-upped board members, if you will. So we are also going to go in the same order that I just read. We can do, we don't have much of a crowd here since you all obviously have been through this. We can just do this all three at once if you like. The only awkward thing is you're going to say your names on top of each other at the same time, but
the name right.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Or we can go one at a time. It's up to you all. Do it one at a time. Okay, so we usually, because Alex likes a picture, we usually stand near a flag. Are you all okay with that? All right, Tammy, let's start with you. Congratulations. Moves on to 1.03, which is the reorganization. And again, typically the superintendent presides over this. So we'll start with electing our board president, and just to walk through what we'll do in a minute, I'll open nominations and take nominations, and anybody, including yourself, you can nominate yourself, you can nominate others, and I will take those in order that they are received. And once we hear no more coming, I'll ask for a motion to close nominations. And once we have a second and no further discussion, I think we're going to ask Janet to do a roll call vote to make sure everybody agrees that the nominations are closed. And then in the order received, basically we'll just do an all in favor for that candidate and all opposed, and then we'll go from there. And we'll do that with each one of these positions. Any questions about that? It's not rocket science, but it's good to walk through it. All right, so I will open the floor to take nominations for the position of President of the Board of Education.
I would like to nominate Laura Lee Mondel.
Okay. We don't need a second on the nominations. We just need... we have a second and a third that we don't need, but we have Laura Lee Mondel
Thank you for paying attention
nominated.
to directions.
And we have a fourth. Again? Okay, so we have Laura Lee Mondel is nominated. Do we have any further nominations? Okay, hearing none, I will entertain a motion to close nominations.
To close nominations.
All right, motion has been moved and seconded. So let's do a roll call vote for closing nominations for president.
Dr. Kinder? Mrs. Bays?
Yes.
Ms. Romberg? Mrs. Midyett? Mr. Miller?
Yes, ma'am.
Mrs. Mondel? Mr. Dole? Motion carries.
Okay, so we'll move forward with a vote for Ms. Laura Lee Mondel, who is the only nomination. I think we still have to do that by acclamation. No, you just voted to close the nominations. Okay. So we'll just make it official, even though it's obviously going to happen. So all in favor of Laura Lee Mondel as the board president, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Congratulations, Ms. Mondel. You are the board president. Would you like to do these other nominations?
No, she needs to do it.
It's your call. Matt usually had me do them, but you... Okay. Let's move on then to election of the board vice president. We'll do the exact same process, and so we'll start by taking nominations for vice president of the Board of Education. Okay, Lynn Midyett has been nominated. We don't need seconds, but that's okay.
Fourth.
Any other nominations for vice president? Okay, here
Close the nominations.
Second.
we have a motion and a second to close nominations. Janet, let's do a roll call vote to close the nominations for the election of vice president.
Mrs. Bays?
Yes.
Ms. Romberg? Mrs. Midyett? Dr. Kinder?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Miller?
Yes, ma'am.
Mrs. Mondel? Mr. Dole? Motion carries.
Okay, so we will do the same thing. Well, we haven't.
that just
We
closed
haven't. That was just the vote to close the nominations.
Take it back.
We're excited to close.
It was difficult.
That's why I say muddle through this every year, because even if you get it, it's
We're all muddling.
right. So we have Lynn Midyett as the only person nominated. All in favor of Lynn Midyett as the board vice president, please indicate by saying yay.
Hey.
Hey.
All opposed? All right, we have all in favor. Lynn Midyett is our vice president. That moves us on to 1.06, which is election of treasurer, and as we know in Rockwood, that is usually our chief financial officer, so we'll do that a little bit different, and we'll just ask for a motion that Chief Financial Officer Paul Northington continue to serve as the treasurer of the Rockwood School District for the 2018-19 fiscal year.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? All All right, the ayes have it. So thank you, Mr. Northington, for accepting the job that you already have. 1.07, election of secretary to the Board of Education. And on this one, we'll do the same thing. We just need a motion that Janet Sadowski continue to serve as the secretary to the Board of Education for the 2018-19 fiscal year.
So move.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? All right. Congratulations, Janet, on keeping your job. At this time, just kind of informally, do we want to change our seating pattern quickly before we, since you're at, no, you just want to stay where you're at till you come out next time? That's perfect. That's perfect. Before I turn it over to Lauralee, to President Lauralee Mondal, I do want to just say a few words to our video audience and our few people that are here. Matt, obviously, we still get to keep him for a year, but he's will no longer be our president. I've been blessed with good board presidents through all of my years as being a superintendent in 2 school districts, but Matt, you clearly stand out. Just a very, very comfortable working relationship, very upfront. I always knew where you stood and how you stood, and appropriately communicated with me and through me and so on and so forth, and it's just been an absolute pleasure. So I'm thrilled that you're still with us for a year. So I'm sure the whole group agrees with my thoughts, but as is customary, we have the gavel for you to fiddle with on the weekends.
So when I go home at night, I can actually use the gavel.
That's exactly correct.
During the evening. Thank you.
You will now pick up. What did you say? What am I doing? What do you need? Oh, you are on. No, you're on the use of the current signature nameplate.
So I need a
Continuation.
motion to authorize the district to continue the use of the current signature plate until new plates bearing the signature of the 2018-19 president and treasurer are received.
So move.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, so that motion passes. And next, we have a motion that current board members reaffirm their commitment to the Code of Ethics, and the board will review this policy. Well, let's get the motion first.
Moved.
Second. Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? So I think what we're going to do is we'll start down with Tammy, right? We're each going to take one of these and just do almost like a popcorn, I guess, from our elementary days. Starting with the purpose.
The purpose of the Board of Education is to govern and control the affairs of the district as provided by law.
Number 2, to discover and interpret the educational needs, attitudes, and interests throughout the district as a guide to developing and setting priorities for an educational program.
To exercise judgment in reviewing, considering, and voting on district-wide policies affecting the operation of the schools.
Oversee the management and fiscal control of the schools as provided by law, and to review, evaluate, and judge the effectiveness of the educational program.
Roles of members of the Board of Education are to recognize that it is the responsibility of the board to see that the schools are properly administered, not to administer them.
2, to hold the superintendent designee responsible for the implementation of board policies and administration of
Give the superintendent designee authority commensurate with his/her responsibility.
Or to vote on board matters only after considering the recommendation of the superintendent designee and any interested citizens.
Maintain a working rapport with other members of the board and the superintendent.
To respect and encourage the right of others to hold and express opinions.
Support the board once a legal decision has been made by a majority vote.
Avoid inappropriate or disparaging remarks in or out of board meetings about other board members or their opinions.
To realize that the responsibilities are district-wide.
Recognize that authority rests with the board in legal session, and no individual board member has legal authority to request action from the staff.
Avoid any comments which may be interpreted as undermining the administration of the district.
Assure that special committees, when appointed, have a well-defined objective and there is understanding that the committee serves in an advisory council capacity.
In addition, members of the Board of Education will work through the superintendent designee and her staff, not over or around them.
Will support the superintendent or designee's efforts to appoint the most qualified persons as employees of the district.
3, to reinforce the efforts of the superintendent designee and the staff so that they may perform their assigned responsibilities in the most effective manner.
4, provide the superintendent designee counsel as requested or required.
Every effort to keep all citizens informed about the quality and condition of public school education in the district.
Create and implement all efforts to secure adequate financial support for the district.
Assure that all transactions of the district are ethical, open, and above board.
Very good. All right, next on the agenda is the board standing committees and assignments. How did we run these last time? We read each one of these and... Okay, so the first one would be the Missouri School Boards what would you say? We want to come up with a committee. Right. Okay, Missouri School Boards Association delegates, so there's 3. Biannual meetings during the day, so that's that one. And then we also have a policy review committee, meets as needed. And the Special School District Governing Council, 1++1 alternate, quarterly meetings in the evening. Would you like me to read anything beyond that, or do we want have any interest in any of those to start with that they for sure want to make known? Okay.
2.
One for the Governing Council, that'd be Lynn. Did you get that?
SSD.
SSD.
I'll remain as our alternate on the SSD.
Okay.
You're at
So we
alternate
have,
SSD.
we have SSD all taken care of, right?
Yep.
All right.
I'll be an MSBA delegate again.
So we have 1 delegate, Keith Kinder. We have Tammy Romberg.
Okay.
So we have 2. We need 1 more. I can certainly do that. That'd be 3. I'm sorry. I totally missed Cope. I'm sorry. So we need the Policy Review Committee, which is 1, and then we have 3 Cope members.
And then
Stay on COPE.
I would like to stay on COPE.
I'd be okay with that.
Totally missed this.
Limited to 3.
Who are the COPE members?
We have 3 for Cope, the standing members that are already on there now, right? You 3 are back.
Well, Lynn, you want to be on COPE, you take my place. I thought you did. COPE? Yeah, I'll step away. I've done it for 5 years.
So we're 3 at that end of the table.
We're done right now.
I also missed the Recognition and Awards Committee. So that is 1, so Tammy. And I know I've jumped around, but we have the Policy Review Committee. That is the only one left. Is that correct?
Yes.
Who's currently on it?
Matt.
Matt.
It's not a hefty role. We really rarely meet. If we have policy that is ultimately coming to the board, and sometimes there are big chunks of it, and they just meet to kind of bless it and give input beforehand, and I don't think we've met.
It's been a while. I'd be happy to continue doing that if unless somebody else wants to do it.
And I'll take it if Matt doesn't want it. I mean, if you...
That's fine, yeah.
Okay.
It's a matter of when they come up with a policy, the committee, and there's a bunch of people on the committee, will go through and they'll write out what they think that policy ought to be. And you need a board member to be there to say, yeah, that's, and again, you're not voting for the board, but that's likely what the board would want to see, or at least express an opinion from the board. So it happens rarely, but it's an input. So,
Me too.
yeah, let Randy do that.
Right. Good.
We are good.
Last thing we have is a motion to go into closed session to discuss legal actions, causes of action or litigation, and personnel.
So move.
Good.
I have a motion and a second. I'll do a roll call, please.
Mrs. Bays? Ms. Romberg? Dr. Kinder?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Miller?
Yes, ma'am.
Mrs. Midyett? Mr. Dole? Mrs. Mondel? Motion carries.
I'd like to call the meeting to order. Start with the Pledge of Allegiance. If you could all rise, please. Pledge allegiance.
To the flag of the United States.
We're going to start tonight. We need a motion to approve the agenda.
Moved.
I have a motion and a second. So the motion was to approve the agenda. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And that carries. Next, we have a motion to approve the Board of Education meeting minutes for March 22nd, 2018 meeting.
Moved.
I have a motion and a second. And so the motion was to approve those minutes. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And that motion carries. So patron comments. We do not have patron comments tonight, but we have an elected official here tonight. So Mayor Coffey, we'd like to say thank you to you, and if you'd like to say a few words.
Yes, as you look around Eureka, you see so many things going on with Rockwood, Gagey and Eureka Elementary and Eureka High School. And I just want to personally thank everyone and staff and the board and Dr. Nost for really putting that effort forward. It's great to see it, and it really is a credit to Eureka to have such involvement from the school board. And on behalf of Eureka, I wanted to personally thank everyone.
Thank you very much.
Mayor.
That's nice. All right, now it's time for our superintendent and board comments. So we'll turn it over to our superintendent, Dr. Knost.
I'll pick up and right where Mayor Coffey left off, just to say a few comments. First of all, I think that really speaks to the quality of the mayor we have at Eureka, that you would take time to come here and make those comments. I think there's a lot of people in our world that don't understand the importance of those kinds of things in our communities. And I think under your leadership, the Eureka area has really blossomed and done, we've had some great things. So we have to turn right around and thank our public, because our voters, permitted us to do what we're doing, and I think that your support was an integral part of that. So thank you for that. And the other day we had hundreds of people that turned out for groundbreaking. That was yesterday, groundbreaking ceremonies at the site of our new Eureka Elementary School, including the entire student body. That was Lynn White, the principal. It was her idea, and we all kind of said, But it was a great idea, and she knew exactly what she was doing, and suggesting that. They brought their beach towels to sit on the dirt, and I think it'll probably be years before maybe it soaks in for some of the kids that what's really going on, maybe even when they're adults and they realize they were part of that. But it was great. Purple and gold flags were blowing wildly in the wind, and many other things were, near Rockwood Arbor Drive and Lake Pathway. School board members were in attendance, along with parents, other community members, and public school supporters. So thank you, Rockwood voters, for making this possible. Are we watching anything with that? At the end we are. Okay. Thank you. I wanted to mention that we had 40 Rockwood staff members participating in 2 days of Community Emergency Response Team training. We call that CERT training. That happened April 5th and 6th at Selvage Middle School. The CERT program educates volunteers about disaster preparedness for hazards that may impact them. Rockwood staff members learned about basic medical aid and managing the consequences of natural and man-made disasters. 2 weeks prior to that, 30 Rockwood administrators and staff went through the 4E Train the Trainer session, which also targets civilian response. The 4 E's in this ongoing active shooter training are educate, evade, escape, and engage. The goal is now for our trainers to take what they've learned back to their schools and share it with their fellow staff members as we continue in our efforts to make sure our schools are as safe as possible. Our Marquette High School principal, Dr. Greg Matheson, has been selected as the SASSP High School Principal of the Year. That's the local principal organization. Marquette teachers, staff, students, as well as Dr. Matheson's family members joined the celebration earlier this month. Senior Purva Sheth said, Dr. Matheson is dedicated to the success of his students. He really tries to make Marquette a very inclusive and diverse school where everyone feels safe and secure. I've had the pleasure of really watching Greg Matheson grow in his position, and I think he just does really quality work as a principal for us. Really proud of Greg. Let's see, on Monday, April the 2nd, Rockwood surprised the 2018 grade level Teachers of the Year during a prize patrol. Those teachers are Westridge Elementary 5th grade teacher Dan Pozo, obviously is the elementary teacher of the year for Rockwood. Our middle school teacher was Lori Cottrell from LaSalle Springs, and our high school teacher was Lauren Sikowski. So congratulations, 3 very quality teachers. And the Rockwood District Overall Teacher of the Year will be selected from these 3, and they will be announced, or that person will be announced at the 2018 Rose Award ceremony, which is coming up Sunday, May the 6th. We have our Rockwood Relay for Life coming up. It will be held on April the 21st at Lafayette High School. The festivities begin at 6 p.m. The American Cancer Society Relay for Life movement unites communities across the globe to celebrate people who have battled cancer, remember loved ones lost, and to take action to finish the fight once and for all. For a long time, Rockwood has been one of those communities. It's a great event, and I know every year this time the organizers are getting with me and saying, we're worried there's not as many people, and I think that's a legitimate worry, but we put out another email the other day, and it seems that the community always comes through, so I'm sure we'll have a good event. The artwork of Eureka High School senior Jaden Hawley has been chosen to promote the Rockwood School District Art Show, which will take place April 14th and 15th on the campus of St. Louis Community College, Wildwood. We're excited to have that on that campus this year. That's a great venue for it. Images featuring Jaden's artwork can be seen all over the district and online that they're advertising the event. So Rockwood Communications produced a video about yesterday's groundbreaking at the new Eureka Elementary School, and we'd like to watch that now.
Today's groundbreaking ceremony and the official start of construction is a culmination of the hard work of many people. But today is really about kids and our new school.
How excited are you about this?
Really excited because it's going to be very big.
Very excited.
Yeah, tell me why you're excited.
Because me and all the other third graders, if we actually get to be the first graduates from the new school.
My favorite shovel was the blue with the Wildcat one because it had like Wildcats, and that one was mine.
For 65 years, Eureka Elementary has created some great memories and has helped to inspire dreams in the minds of thousands of students. Eureka Elementary was here and continues to be here to see thousands of students successfully complete elementary school.
We've always been known as the small school with a big heart. As we build our new school, we're going to take this spirit and camaraderie with us as we just become a little bit larger school with that same big heart. It's not the bricks and mortar that make Eureka Elementary a special place. It's the people in our school and our community that make it so special.
Eureka Elementary is a great school, and the city of Eureka is a great place to raise children in our Rockwood community. It takes a great team to build a great school, and I'm proud of the hard work of those who will build our brand new Eureka Elementary School. Now let's get back to our Eureka Elementary students who are ready to get the digging started and officially break our ground.
These shovels will be displayed at our new school as art in our new building. Okay, drum roll please. 3, 2, 1, dig! Woo! That's the first dig of our new school.
Exciting. it's just hard to think about, you know, the history involved in a day like that, and as we approach building that new elementary school. It's something you don't think much about now, but you know you will definitely in the future. Just a few other announcements. It has been our practice since I've been superintendent to make announcements when we have administrative hires in closed session to make sure that we announce them publicly first thing in open session. And we had a busy night tonight. We have hired 2 new principals for our school district. So I'm going to start with LaSalle Springs Middle School. Tonight we've hired Mr. Aaron Wilkin. Mr. Aaron Wilkin is currently serving as the principal at Fox Middle School in the Fox School District, a position he has held for the last 10 years. Prior to that time, he was an assistant principal and social studies teacher at Fox Middle. Mr. Wilkin earned a master's degree from Southwest Missouri State University in Educational Administration and Education. His bachelor's degree in elementary education is from Lindenwood University. Mr. Wilkin replaces Ms. Debbie Brandt, who is retiring from the district effective July 2018. We're fortunate to have Mr. Wilkin here, so I'd like to introduce Mr. Aaron Wilkin, our new principal for LaSalle Springs Middle School. Welcome. And also we have with us tonight our new principal for Baldwin Elementary School, Ms. Christine Davis. Ms. Davis is currently the assistant principal at Fairway Elementary School in the Rockwood School District. She has also been the principal of Rockwood Summer Academy at both Baldwin and Eureka Elementary Schools the past 2 years. She has served as a classroom teacher, an elementary school counselor, and a middle school language arts teacher in the district. Ms. Davis holds master's degrees in elementary school administration and school counseling from Missouri Baptist University. She earned her bachelor's degree in middle school education from the University of Missouri Columbia. She replaces Dr. Rodney Lewis, who will be leaving the district effective July 2018 to take a district level post in the St. Charles School District. So we have Chris with us tonight. Welcome, Chris, and congratulations. Would you like to introduce your family? Yeah. Wonderful. Great to have you guys here. And don't feel obligated to stay the whole night. We'd love to have you, but yes, our new board president says it's not going to be a long night. So, and I'm happy to tell you with that my superintendent's report is done.
All right. Any board comments?
Carly, I'd like to mention, Dr. Canos mentioned 3 administrators in the district tonight. Greg Matheson, who is a graduate of Lafayette High School, but Christine sort of dropped it, but the other 2 administrators new to the district are both Eureka High School graduates, so welcome back. Well, I'm Aaron. The other one's already been here.
I have one. I wanted to recognize 2 groups within the district. They were recognized by the Special School District with the Special Ambassador Award. That is the highest recognition given by the Special School District, and that is Eureka High School Best Buddies and the Marquette High Dazzlers. So congratulations to them.
And a couple weeks ago, I had the opportunity to go to Kersmale Elementary to the Music and Movement drum presentation. It was fabulous and just a great example of innovation that's going on in our schools to pair music and movement together, and it was just fabulous to see that level of innovation.
Any other? I would publicly like to say thank you to Matt Dole. He has been a great board president these last 2 years, and I know we gave him a plaque earlier when we did our reorganization. Pardon me? 3 years. 1, 2, 3. Oh, yeah, 3 years. Sorry about that. I do have a math degree. I do. But, you know, from the bottom of our hearts, Matt, thank you very much for everything you've done for this board. We appreciate it. So I hope I can be half the board president that you were. All right, next we have a motion to approve the consent agenda items as submitted.
We'll move.
I have a motion and a second. Do you need to
Yes.
something out? Somebody?
If you go to the gifts.
Can we do? Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay, go ahead. Go ahead.
We had 2 excellent gifts to the district. Chesterfield Elementary PTO, technology, $3,110 for the innovation room. And a donation from Ridge Meadows Elementary PTO for technology, $2,565 for first grade classroom, 9 Chromebooks for the first grade. Great, thank you very much.
Abstain from the personnel, 7.09, 2 of the categories, so everyone want to do that.
So we have a motion to approve the consent agenda items. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, so that motion passes. And 1 abstention. Okay. All right, agenda items. Motion to postpone the approval of the 2019-20 school calendar and snow day makeup schedule until the April 19, 2018 Board of Education meeting.
Moved.
A motion is second, and we have Tracy Edwards here to talk to us about it.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for having me. So, first up, if you want to start the slide, we are here to present to you the 1920, so I just want to share a few highlights to that. It's right below it, where it says PowerPoint. There we go, perfect. So I just want to share that this slide shares our legal obligation per state statute to share that we are in fact proposing a start date 10 days prior to the first Monday in September. So that's again, Missouri statute that says we have to do that. So since this is open session, there we go. Check that off that we share that with you. Second slide is just our committee. We always like to honor the work that our teachers and parents, et cetera, do. So just making sure we know that the committee meets. We come together 3 times a year. This is a very standard committee meeting. The same work happens. September meeting is our working committee. October is where we narrow it down to 2. We usually try for 2 drafts that we take out to the community. In between the October and November meetings is when we head out to President's Forum. Laura Baker, NEA president, takes it to the buildings for the teachers to get votes on, et cetera. So that window between October and November is when we collect feedback, and then November the team comes back together, we look at the feedback, and then we decide on the one calendar that we bring to the board. So that's kind of our progression of how the calendar works each fall. Next slide shows highlights. We always just kind of try to look at what the calendar committee has decided. So first day in 1920, again, our district does calendars 2 years out currently. First day is Monday the 12th. Last day is, of first semester is December 20th. That's why we had to start early. We like to be sure that we have that first semester wrapped up. Spring break is the 16th through the 20th, so it's the 3rd full week in 1920. Again, our goal is always to finish before Memorial, so we got the Thursday and Friday. And then I did want to share that we have something new, and that is the high school staff development. The PDC actually determines our staff development days, but through feedback with that committee, they asked to receive some half days back, and so you'll see that those are embedded September, October, and are aligned with their quadrant, if you will, their feeder pattern, sort of. And then January, February are our district ones that they also tagged onto. So there's 4 early release for the high school, which is just something new from the past for 1920. So those are the highlights for 1920. Any questions? Or
When's the last time we've started a school year on a Monday?
just the year before last?
Was it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Seems like it's been forever.
It usually, for a while, it was like every 6-7 years.
Right.
And it's been a few Mondays here recently, but we definitely, as a committee and as a community, we really do like to end our semester in December prior to the holiday. So it really is more about getting all the 180 days in than it is.
Yeah.
I mean, ideally, yes, probably a lot of people like to start on a Wednesday, but sometimes Monday, that's what it is.
Tracy, do you anticipate any anticipation of anybody concerned about anything that they would be calling you about?
Sir, I feel
Pretty typical calendar.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like we do a really good job. We literally probably have between 3,000 and 4,000 votes or, comments back. Laura does a great job with staff. President's Forum, I go, and the presidents do a great job of, getting that out to their communities. And so I feel like we have a really good representation when we get to that November meeting. It's kind of a really clear
what we bring to you. It's not like we as a committee have to sit and really kind of decide. So I feel really good that we bring to you a really solid vote, or a solid opinion.
Thanks.
Your comments or questions? All right, so the motion is to postpone the approval until the April 19th, 2018 Board of Education meeting. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Okay, so that passes. And I believe you're staying here for the next motion to approve the revised 2018-19 school calendar and snow day makeup schedule as presented.
Correct. And that's just a conversation or an
Wait,
explanation.
Let's have a motion.
Oops, sorry. Sorry.
Okay, now you can go.
Okay, sorry.
That's okay.
This is just to, just a few words. So when the PDC committee came together this year in looking at 1920, and they decided they really wanted high school to have half days, there was no reason to postpone that 2 years out. And so we already took the 18-19 to you last year. And so now we needed to just replicate. So basically the 18-19 has 4 high school half days as well, aligned to the same. September, October, January, February. So that's the only, in yellow is where you'll see the highlights. That's the only revision. There's just no reason to wait till 1920 when we're able to do it in 18-19.
And aligns the half-days that already exist
Correct.
for those quadrants.
Correct.
They're not all day professional development. They're late starts. Is that right?
Well, high schools will still have late starts on Mondays. They do during, if the new half day fell during the same week as a traditional late start Monday, we did remove that late start Monday so that they didn't have 2 days within the same week where there was a revised schedule. So they did lose 3 late start Mondays, but no, they'll have a combination of, actually. They'll have late start Mondays and 4 half days. Great. Thank you. Good question.
Else? All right, so the motion is to approve the revised 2018-19 school calendar and snow day makeup schedule as presented. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, so that passes.
Thank
Thank you very much. So we have some bond issue purchases. So Chris Friend is coming up. Motion to approve the bond issue purchases and related contracts from $7,500 to $150,000 as submitted.
Second.
A motion, a second. Go ahead, Chris.
Evening. A couple items tonight. The first one is at Babler Elementary School. We are completing the second phase of a 2-summer project that replaces their HVAC system. Part of that replacement includes the chiller removal. On the back side of that building, there's a large chiller enclosure. That will go away. And as we've discussed future projects with the school buildings and our capital projects visits, one of the things that they wanted to do as part of this is widen their drop-off pickup lane on the back side of the building. So this is our opportunity to do that. Once that chiller enclosure is removed, this is the contract for an asphalt company to come in and pave that area.
That's strictly the backside by whatever that road is there.
Shepherd Road?
Yeah, Shepherd. Okay.
Yes. Yes. Yes, it'll give us another 20 feet approximately.
Also, make note, Chris Friend is a Eureka graduate also.
Dr. Kinder. We have to vote on that one. We're doing them all together, aren't we?
All these together.
Right, okay.
Right, so the second item we have is a new construction service that we're looking into, and we actually piloted this software on the Gagey project. It is a construction documentation service, which basically what they do is they come in and take pictures through every stage of a construction project, whether it's ground site utilities, MEP, mechanical, electrical, and plumbing rough ends before drywall is put up in a building. They basically come in and document everything during all phases of the construction project. This is invaluable information. I couldn't tell you how much I would like to have this with all of our existing buildings. This will not only help us, go through the construction process and work with our general contractor and our architects on certain items through this web-based program, but it also, the facilities director 20 years from now will appreciate everything we do, because this really is a big picture thinking when it comes to documentation of construction projects. It's on the cloud.
I was just going to ask, I've not seen this before, but that's a great idea.
Is, and we had an opportunity to bring it into Gagey, and I know the project started pretty close together, but we were very impressed with what they've already provided at Gagey. They basically take the CAD drawings that the architect provides and download all their information onto those drawings and have buttons that throughout the building that you can actually click on. It brings up pictures of each phase of the construction project. It's very neat stuff. That's it.
Ooh.
You got two more?
Yeah, I don't believe they're facilities related.
Okay.
Bob
We're gonna
Deneau
move on to the
coming
next
up,
one, huh?
yes.
I say Bob's not
Sorry,
here. Yes, he is.
he's on here.
Hiding in the
Bob
back of the
Deneau.
room.
Wake up, Bob.
All right, good evening. This is actually for our innovation rooms. We are wrapping up kind of the first set of rooms that we did and now moving on to our second phase. This is for actually all of the Fenton area elementary schools. We are now needing to purchase all of their tables, all of their storage, all of their seating. We've learned a lot from the first set of schools, and so we've used that experience to help solidify things that we're going to be doing in those buildings. So we've already gone through and flooring and everything is in, so they're ready for furniture, and that's what this purchase is for.
Bob, how many are left?
Oh,
About.
we still have probably, 4 or 5 that we really haven't done anything to yet. We have 3 that are being contracted out over the summer because they need more extensive work. And we have a couple other buildings that we still are finalizing plans on. But this year, I would say, is all about just trying to get them done. And the schools that go first obviously get in a little bit sooner. But even then, we're finding little small things that we want to tweak and change. So I see this project as being more fully implemented starting next school year.
These are all in the Fenton area,
Yes.
Summit area. Where are the other ones left at?
We have Wild Horse. We have
Baldwin.
Baldwin. We haven't done anything with Ellisville, Fairway, and Blevins are ones that we are still needing to do work on, or we have hired out to do that. The rest of the schools we have met with, and we're in the process of getting those rooms up and running. So you'll be seeing me again because we have some more things that we.
I think the new principal wants to see you after the meeting tonight.
Where did the discrepancy come for the 4 schools? Like the range, is that based on the size of the rooms in this one?
No, we really just kind of almost made a list of what were going to be the easiest rooms first, and then went from there. And so we just happened to, because these rooms kind of fell like in the middle, we just kind of lumped them together. Say, okay, we're going to go there first. We tried to start with what we thought would be the easiest rooms, and we started with one room. In that case, Babbler was the one that was ready to go first. So.
And the other thing that kind of drove some of this was we self-performed a lot of this work, so we tried to keep them geographically close as we grouped them up. In this particular group here, we actually had some contracted flooring that went in, so it just made sense to group them up the way we have. Our goal is to be done with all of them by next school year. There's a couple of tough ones like Ellisville and Baldwin that we've had trouble identifying a location, but we think we have most of that figured out now.
Then between these 4 that are on for tonight, one is at a higher end. Is that
As far as
based on the,
cost-wise?
yeah, so is that based on
Really
the size of those rooms?
Could be based on size, could be based on some of the ideas that they have. So yeah, we really, every room, there's a different cost to that. It just really depends on the extent of the work that needs to be done. But obviously, the smaller spaces don't require as many things, so they're going to be less in that sense.
Other questions for these 2 gentlemen? All right, Deb Kettering, you want to come up for technology, please?
Evening. So this purchase is for 2 Cisco switches to replace existing equipment in our data center that specifically allow our servers to talk to the network. And so we need them quickly, which is why there was an emergency approval. We have some problems with one of them. So the existing switches, and so these will just be to replace existing equipment and to upgrade our capacity for future growth.
Relative to not the outage we had yesterday,
No,
which was
no, that was
outside the
AT&T.
district and AT&T, but was that 2 weeks ago now?
March
or
27th.
The outage that you all were aware of that we had internally that was really, I just applaud Deb, even even though we had an external situation last night, the fact that your staff was trying to figure out how we were going to muddle through that, the first thing I asked was our intruder alarms, will they still work? And Deb assured me they would. So I felt like we had had school, but we needed to have the ability to communicate. She worked on that. But in March, it was internal.
It
and
was. It
this
was that piece
emergency
of equipment.
approval that I approved was relative to both Deb and I not wanting to have her department live through that again. So
Do have a great team who has worked very hard to ensure that what we have right now will stay up and running, but it is the same model of equipment that died recently, and so the faster we can get it in, the better. And as far as the AT&T outage yesterday, I would just like to commend Bretta Slagle, Scott Rhodes, and Robin Prado for their work all day yesterday and into the wee hours of the morning. They were here until, well, Scott and Robin were out working until about 4 a.m. So trying to make sure we could have
it was when
phone
Kathy and I
service.
got a text from
Yes.
you at 4:05 a.m.
Yeah, yes.
So Deb, what is the longevity of these switches?
So typically five years is what we plan for. We've had our existing switches for longer than that. So we do like to refresh at 5, but obviously you can see the cost is pretty significant. So we try to get as much life out of them as we can. We had been planning for this purchase previously, and this was the original date to put it on the agenda so that we could upgrade our system in the summer, and the outage precipitated getting an emergency approval. Yes.
That's one of the factors if we're going to miss the funds.
These particular switches are expandable, or allow us to go up to, I think, 30 or 40 gigs, depending on what hardware we buy to put in them. But we're going to start with 10. They will grow with us, and hopefully in the 5 years that we expect them to last, we will be able to accommodate everything that we need.
Installs these?
Pardon?
Who installs these? Puts them in?
So our team does the majority of the work that we do in our district. Sometimes we will get some professional service help if it's something that is a one-time expertise needed to get it installed. But in this case, it will be our team.
They're pretty hefty switches. Are you going to have a cutover time or do that on a weekend or something?
We're going to, yes.
Okay.
We will definitely plan for that because this will take down our entire server.
Yeah, can you do a systematic switch by switch, or do you have to take a whole one down and repatch it?
They're redundant, so in theory we should be able to
Don't test that theory.
No, we won't.
Okay.
But in theory you could, but we won't do that. We will schedule an outage to do that, and it'll be off hours. So, yeah, my team is really good about accommodating and meeting the needs of the district and putting that first. So we'll make sure that it's not affecting anything. Any questions?
Questions? All right, so the motion on the floor is to approve the bond issue purchases and related contracts, $7,500 to $150,000 as submitted. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Yeah, the motion passes. Thank you, all three of you. Next up, COPE committee update. This is informational, so whoever the designated speaker is,
Well, thank you. I
your
think,
last shot.
no, I don't think so.
Okay.
I'll do the update. So we had our COPE meeting on Monday, and it was a great discussion. We first talked about presentations for next year's board meetings, and we've, in the past sort of tried to bring in some community things that would be of interest to other people, see what's going on in our schools, an educational piece for the board. And so that's where our brain was as we brainstormed that day. The ideas we have for next year, and we had a bunch, and if you all have additional ones, please let us know because it's always good to get them. include the following: early college partnership, so an update on that, professional learning, what's going on in Rockwood, partners in education, the Summit Biodiesel Club, culinary arts, potentially having them come in and maybe make us something. We're going to have Keith in an apron and do a little cooking show. Fine arts, music, art, and theater, high school ROTC programs, online course options, character ed, and robotics. And so Kathy and her team are going to look at a good schedule for that and try to bring in some newer things at the beginning. And even when we get to something like robotics, we're going to try to always kind of vary the ages that we bring in. This last time we heard from the high school, so maybe have some of the other kids. So we're going to look, her team will look for potential dates and times to get that in on our agendas. Then we talked about the school board retreat process, which has kind of changed a little bit over the past few years, depending on the board and new people coming on and what kind of education we all were looking for, what we were really looking for out of that. So the committee feels like we have the potential to change that a little bit right now. We just had new board members sworn in tonight who are not new board members. And so maybe the same bit of education doesn't need to be reiterated, though some of those things are important enough to refresh ourselves with. So I've got the list from last year, which I will email out to everyone, and you can review that. It's just listed by topic. And if you all have other suggestions or things that you might want to have on that, then we can talk about that at next week's meeting. And then we can identify a date where we'd like to do it, which we'd recommend sooner rather than later. And we will get going on that. So I'll send that out. And that's it. We are going to, once we know from next week, we'll decide when COPE gets together again to discuss those items and put everything together for a retreat. So, any questions?
Years past, we've been a little bit slow after an election to get that moving. Once you get into summer, it's almost impossible to do it before August or September. So if we can find a date within the next month or so, that would probably be much healthier.
I think so.
Otherwise,
too.
you're halfway through the year before you do it. So.
Last year we did it August 3rd. So same thing. We missed the summer, but hit it right away in August. And so there's some potential there for something new to show up and definitely refresh some of our things from before. So I'll send that out.
Kathy, if you didn't send that out, the COPE minutes, would you send that out to everybody?
She shared with us.
Yeah, I know.
All right, anything else on that? All right, good job, Cope. One of the last few things here, proposed agenda for the next board meeting, April 19, 2018, which happens to be a board awards meeting at Eureka High School. And Janet, do you know who the presenters will be?
It's Matt and Keith.
Dr. Kinder, you have to pull out your suit.
Where'd you say it is next week?
No,
Eureka High School.
Eureka, okay. I just want to throw it out.
April 19th.
When you come to the wrong place and nobody's here, it's not very far away.
Yeah.
So it's Matt and I?
Yes, doing
Really?
the presenting of the awards.
Okay.
So if we pull up the agenda, anybody wants to add anything on there at this point or another point, let us know. Any comments or questions? All right, that looks good. And future agenda presentations and events to attend. So we have a few things here that I have down on this list. This weekend is the District Art Show. Of course, the Rose Award is May 6th, which we've all received invitations for that. I'm not even going to talk about graduations. That's hard to believe. And then the MSBA Leadership Summit. And Janet, you've reserved some rooms. So if people have an interest in going to that one in June, first of all, there's that one. And there's also, she wanted to give you the date, September 27 to 30 of the one in the fall.
One thing I missed, could we add the COPE update or some wording like that to next week's meeting so we can discuss the retreat or the retreat process
To the agenda?
to the agenda?
Yes.
Thank you.
Anything else? All right, we'll adjourn the meeting.
All right, thank you.